Now do you guys see why I'm so excited for this video? I finally manned up and I bought some real seats. So these are the Corbeau Moab seat. I think that's how you say it, Corbeau. I don't know, either way, these are the Moab seats, and these are, I didn't want like a really like a racing style seat. These are gonna be perfect for the FJ. So we got the seats, we got a bunch of other stuff that we got to do kind of surrounding the seats, but I wanted to get the seats in because we got some center console work. So to go along with the seats, instead of buying the Corbeau sliders, because they're like 80 bucks a piece, these ones are from Amazon. I think they're called the race wheel sliders. Now all the reviews said these aren't going to fit with the Corbeau, or however you say that. I did check the pattern on the seat, and we just have to re-drill one hole in these sliders to get them to mount to the pattern on these seats. So not a big deal. We'll drill that out once we get to that point. Couple other things, the aux beam switch panel that I originally was going to put on my dash, we kind of ran out of space, so I think I'm going to integrate it into a center console here. So it's going to go, I mean, we got shifter, we got transfer case, shifter to mount. This is the shifter I went with, a B&M Pro Gate. This one is made for the, you know, the Chevy. It's obviously the 4L60E. So that's kind of made for that style transmission. And then, I don't know, I got this cheap transfer case shifter. I'm gonna see if I can make it work, see if I can make it look good. But if not, I might order something else. So that's basically what we're doing. Seat brackets. These are the factory seat brackets. Some of these, like this, so I'll show you. This main one runs from the passenger side here, right there, and it mounts over here, but you can see it is hitting my my tunnel cover here. The good thing is instead of rebuilding this, because I mean, I could extend that, bend that out and extend it. I don't have any of this, 1x2 square tube. I mean, I could go buy some, but there's plenty of room under here to that transfer case. What I may do is just notch this out for that bracket. I don't know, we'll get to that once we get there. I am running the factory tank, which is right there, just because that is a brand new tank and it's already set up for it, and we don't have to make room underneath the truck. So we're going to put the tank in, we're going to figure out this bracket. We have another bracket that comes up here, and then there's one bracket for that side, this little triangle piece here. So this one, I don't even know where I think one of the holes was under here where my new panel is. So I think that was the right hole. I think it bolts just like that, I think. I don't know, I'll have to go look at some pictures. And then we also have all these other brackets right here. These are for the rear. So these all go right there, right there, right there. So that's the game plan. What I want to start with is get the seats mounted, and then we can kind of work around the seats, because I don't know how close they're going to be into the center console. I want to make some sort of a console on top of this. I spent a lot of time building that, which we have a really good start with, but I want to modify it. I'm happy with it. I'm absolutely happy with it, but I want to do some sort of console with cup holders and a place for this, place for the shifters, everything. So let's get started. Let's get these seats mounted. We'll have to figure out, like I said, figure out these mounts, and then we'll have to make mounts on top of that to mount these sliders onto, to actually be able to bolt the seats on. Well guys, we got this seat almost mounted up. I mean, it's close, but for me, I think it's too tall. I did some looking around and kind of compared it to my old seats, and the top of that seat is right about the center of this X when I close the door. This seat is right about the same, but I think the problem is it's so flat. I should have made it kind of lean back a little bit, the actual seat bottom. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna try to drop this seat down as much as I can. We're kind of limited on passenger side because of the fuel tank, but we can definitely get maybe 4 or 5 degrees back. I think that will definitely help kind of sink your whole butt, your whole body down into that seat a little better. Other than that, we're looking really good. We got the console or the steering column in, and that is looking good. But I do think we need to just lower that seat a little bit and tilt it back. I'm gonna mess around with these mounts a little bit, get that figured out, and then we'll jump on the passenger side and get that mount built. All right, so we got the seat lowered an inch and we got it tilted back about 4 or 5 degrees, and this thing is perfect now. It feels amazing. The seat doesn't look like it's way too high. I mean, I got plenty, you know, 6-8 inches above. We got room to the pillar. And one thing I have to address from the last video, everybody was so concerned with these speakers. I know it looks like they're hanging way down, but kind of how you're just positioned in these FJs, I mean, there's plenty of room. Obviously we don't have a clutch. Even if we did, I mean, I got 4, 5, 6 inches to my leg. I mean, to come all the way up, you know, I'm way off the ground here. So there's plenty of room for the speaker, leg room wise. We are going to take the clutch pedal out, and we're just going to kind of straighten that brake pedal out because this is automatic. But I mean, there's plenty of room. I'm not worried one bit about hitting my leg on that speaker. Well, I went to go mount the seat and we got a slight problem. I am using the wrong holes on these brackets on the actual seat. So the bottom here is a 1/2 inch out from the top. So basically this hole right here, this bottom hole, is a 1/4 inch in on each side. So that will get the rails nice and straight. I did try to slot this hole here, but with this bolt being off center, the rail hits it when you're sliding it. So the only option we have now is to just extend the rail. So I'm just gonna cut a piece of metal here, probably a little 1/8 inch plate with a hole in it to bolt it here, and we'll just have to extend this rail out. So if you guys are doing these seats or this style, you know, a car boost seat with an aftermarket rail or sliders, you got to do some modifications. It's not a huge deal. I mean, we can just cut these out on the plasma table real quick, weld them on there. I mean, that's going to take 10-15 minutes and we'll be done. We'll be straight. These holes obviously for mounting onto the seat bracket right here are not going to change at all with that. So that's all we got to do. Just extend that down a little bit, put a little paint on it, and we're good to go. Well, that was a mess. I blew my last good tip out of there, and then I bought some. I had some other nozzles off Amazon that I bought that were supposed to be a 1.1. I threw that in there and it wouldn't even cut. And I looked at that nozzle and or the hole in that nozzle, it is way bigger than the other 1.1. So I had to crank the amps way up. Moral of the story, if you're gonna dial in your plasma cutter, stick with the same brand of consumables, because obviously that didn't work out in my favor. But we got these cleaned up. You can see that was the major bad one. I just ground it smooth. We're still good to go. So these are all the mounts for passenger side. Now it is gonna be a little bit higher than the driver's side, but it's how it's gonna be. The only other way to fix it is to pull this tank out and redo the fuel tank. I don't wanna do that, especially because my quarter panel, I already have that filler into the quarter panel. So I'm gonna keep the tank. That seat's gonna be just a little bit taller, but I mean, you don't have the steering wheel or anything in your way over there for a passenger, so it's not as big of a deal as the driver's side. Well, no matter what project I'm working on, it always seems like there's one thing I forget. Now we got these brackets all done, but the seats are mounted too far back. The only way to really get into the back of this thing when I put a bench seat is to fold the seat forward, slide it all the way forward, and then, you know, climb between the seat and the cab to get to the back seat. Well, these seats do not go far enough forward. So what we're gonna have to do is cut these brackets back apart, and I'm gonna move these things forward about 4.5 inches. That should get us enough room to slide behind into the back. So it kind of sucks, but it is what it is with, you know, fabrication and building things. It always seems like you forget to check one stupid little thing and it ends up costing you more time. But that's how it goes sometimes. We're gonna fix it, and instead of wasting more steel, I'm just gonna cut these apart, grind them down, and weld them back together. All right, I'm finally happy with these brackets. I do need to stiffen them up. I'm just gonna run a piece, maybe like 1 inch high along here, but I'm going to wait because I gotta do the same thing in the center, but we're gonna have to kind of work around what we build for a center console. So I'm gonna wait to stiffen those up. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm gonna just leave these tacked for now. Now what I wanna do, you can see we got a decent amount of room here. I haven't decided what we're doing yet, but I know I want to build something here. So let's jump on that, figure out what we're doing for center console-ish area, and then what we're doing to mount our shifters up. All right, guys, we are finally ready to start coating some stuff. We got all this sandblasted. It took quite some time, but we wanted to blast it, get it all perfect. So all these bigger stuff that I can't fit in my oven, we are going to use the Glacier Black Cerakote, and then like all these mounts and the brackets and that little tray, we're just gonna powder coat just because it's so much faster. You don't have to wait for that to cure. This stuff does take about 5 days to cure, but you can handle it after 24 hours. So after 24 hours, we should be able to put it all together, but it's still, at that point, it's still not all the way hard. So that's one downside to the Cerakote. One upside to the Cerakote is all these threads that are in, like I welded nuts in here, those are not gonna be harmed at all. The coating is so thin, it doesn't hurt the threads at all. Now, if you guys want to check any of this stuff out, this Cerakote, this is the Glacier Black C7600. It's a 1-part formula. It's an air cure, so we don't have to cure it in the oven. This stuff I'll link down below. These two products are amazing, powder coat and Cerakote. Really, I mean, you could do anything with it. Honestly, if it was up to me, if all this stuff, if I had a big enough oven, I would just powder coat all this stuff. Cerakote is more designed for like high tolerance parts just because it is a super thin coating. But I mean, in a pinch, when I can't fit the stuff in the oven, Cerakote works just fine for all this, and it's gonna look really good. It's a very strong coating. If you guys want to check it out, like I said, Cerakote.com, I'll have it linked, and then Prismatic Powders for all the powder coat we're doing. Well, I said screw it, I already have the Cerakote out, so I just coated everything. Turned out really nice. This is the next day, but we are gonna give this stuff probably till tomorrow just to harden up, because it does scratch pretty easy the first day. So we got everything done. While this is drying up, we do have some other work to do. We still got to mount the transfer case shifter. Now that console comes, I left enough room right here because it's, I mean, you can't mount this thing too high. It's gonna be way too high if it was on top. So we're gonna mount that right, kind of those marks there. Gonna stuff that in there. We do have to cut this area out here and raise this up. There is room to the fuel tank, but when I rebuilt my transmission cross member, I did move the transmission over just a little bit, and that little nub where that bolt is right there, if you can see that, that is hitting on the cover, so we got to clearance that. And then one other thing with this shifter, the mounts that they give you, I think it's more set up for like a $700 floor or something, because they don't have this safety or this neutral switch or the whatever that electronic switch is there, and they're actually set up a little bit different than this. So this, I have to make my own bracket. They do make a 4L60E bracket, but it's for a forward exit shifter. That is a rear exit, so when you pull that shifter back, it extends, so we can't flip this over, it'll be backwards. So the cable's gonna have to be on top. I'm gonna just make a bracket kind of like this one here, the factory bracket, but it's gonna have to mount right up in here. So we're gonna have to make a bracket for that. And then after that, I mean, we pretty much just need to hook up the linkage here for the transfer case shifter. That should be pretty simple. If I can't get this one to work, I'm just gonna make one. I think this one's out of aluminum, but it's obviously gonna be way too long, so we're gonna have to shorten that up. So it's either shorten this and weld that one up, or just make one out of steel. Well, I'm a little annoyed about this. I bought these cup holder inserts and on the website it showed the cutout diameter. I cut these holes smaller than that and they are still too big. These cup holders are not even close to what they said they were as far as diameter. So we got to figure out a way to secure these things. I could glue them along that top flange. I don't really like that idea. I think what I'm going to try to do is build a little bracket that bolts off of the bottom and that kind of 90s down and pushes up against the bottom of this panel. I think that's going to be the easiest way. It's already got like recessed holes in the bottom, so the screws really aren't going to affect cups sitting along the bottom of this thing, so that should work pretty good. Let's grab some steel and cut out a couple of mounts and get these cup holders secured. Well, there she be, guys. We are finally done. This took way too long, but on the upside it turned out perfect. I absolutely love it. We got the cup holders mounted. Like I said, those holes were cut too big, the measurements were wrong, but those brackets ended up working out really good. These things are nice and sturdy, so everything clears perfect. We got plenty of room here for the transfer case shifter that linkage isn't on, and shifter here, perfect placement. The main reason I did cut this little design is because the heater box here has got heat ports on the front, and it's basically going to be blowing right into the center. It also has, you know, the side ports here, but there's some on the front that are going to blow kind of into that center console. So those vents on the sides there are going to let the air out. Obviously on the back, I mean, it's not sealed up, but honestly I like the look of it and it kind of works for the vents. Well, guys, I don't know what's wrong with me. Just mounting these seats and building the center console took like 2.5 weeks. Honestly, I don't know how it takes me so long to get this stuff done, but like I said, it turned out perfect. I absolutely love it. It's just a lot of back and forth with build it. Like, I've rebuilt these seat mounts 3 times. I didn't really have to rebuild anything on the center console. Just those seat brackets took a while just because I had to keep redoing them. But honestly, I like to take my time because now the seats are exactly where I want them. The center console fits perfect with the seats. Everything fits really good. So I like to take my time. It does take a lot longer to get these videos out, but the end result's just so much better when I slow down, take my time, and not rush everything. Well, guys, we're getting pretty close on the interior. We're gonna paint the whole inside. So that's kind of why I jumped on the inside. Instead of, you know, trying to get this thing running and everything, I don't want to pack this thing full of a wiring harness just to rip it all back out to paint it. So now that the dash is done and the center console is done, that we kind of massaged over that transmission tunnel, got that clearing and everything, we can move on to paint. I'm not going to paint it right now. Before we do paint, I want to do a cage inside, just because we're going to be welding inside. I'm not going to ruin a new paint job with a bunch of welding. So I want to get everything knocked out, and then we'll strip this thing completely down and start painting. Well, anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Why don't you go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.